Hello, everybody. It's Andrea. I have two topics and a finite-ish period of time. I'll swing right into a point I wanted to make about Ashley Webb, who made a name for himself during the candidate debate in Maine for those Democrats hoping to replace Graham Plattner on the ticket to run against Susan Collins. I'll start with letting Webb speak for himself. For those of you who don't know, Webb is an obese, middle-aged man who contends that he is a woman. So here is that video of Webb on display.
What qualifications do you have to serve in the U.S. Senate?
Oh, I ran for office several times. Didn't win, but I did run. And then I'm a songwriter, and then I write my own books. And then I suppose my transparency, I wouldn't lie to the people, and I wouldn't deceive the people like we're being deceived right now. Like, we get lied to, smoke and mirrors, like what's going on with ICE, pretending like these victims did something wrong. Like, that's unacceptable. And I suppose the biggest thing is, like, I'm just an angry citizen now, and if I got elected, I'd be an angry senator, and I think that would probably be their worst nightmare.
Since then, we've learned more about Webb. And let me quote from a post by Colin Wright on X News. Maine Democrat Ashley Webb, who said he would not lie or deceive people, claims in Reddit posts that he ovulates and has a monthly period. But because he has external male parts instead of the proper hole, the period blood comes out of his anus. Despite being karyotyped as XY, he says he's pretty positive I am the XX type. He also believes he has female internal organs, although CAT scans have turned up nothing. Colonoscopies have also failed to validate a connection with a supposed hidden uterus. In addition to that delusion, there's also now proof that, as he said, he's an author. On his book, he, rather than showing an image of himself, an obese, makeup-wearing, middle-aged man with long hair, he did a photograph of a beautiful young woman, an AI photograph. I think this is very sad. In a political context, frankly, it's a disaster that these people are being bandied about as viable whatever the hell, not even candidates, because that's up to the people, but they're on school boards, they're in classrooms, they're in libraries, they're in businesses, they were in Joe Biden's White House. I have known, since I lived in the Bay Area, I have actually met several so-called transgender people over the years. The first one was in early 1990s, and it was at UCSF, and it was a doctor who was wearing a dress and contended that he was a woman. And the only thing, I felt a bit of curiosity. He was the first so-called, and I think they were called transsexuals in those days, I forget. He was the first one I'd ever met, and he was manifestly a deeply unhappy person. Despite the fact that he was in a very accepting community, living his real self, he was sad. A decade later, when I was working on a home remodel, we were remodeling our home, the engineer we hired for a very specific job, highly recommended, and he did a good job, was also a self-proclaimed trans woman, and he was another unbelievably unhappy person. And again, I felt sorry for him. These were pathetic people who had no place in their own skin. Their sense of self was completely misaligned with their bodies. They were clearly mentally ill. Neither was threatening. Both were sad. I've come to believe that if either of them had been given a dose of testosterone to make them feel more manly instead of estrogen to make them even less aligned with their biological bodies, both those men might have been happier. As it was, they were clearly mentally ill. And what occurred to me looking at this Ashley Webb is that he too is deeply pathetic and mentally ill, but he's angry. The system is out to get him. And it occurred to me that the trans rights movement has denied normal people compassion. Normal people looking at these pathetic people think, oh God, that's so sad. And you shouldn't be in a bathroom with little girls, that's for sure, and probably not with grown women either, but boy, you're just sad. But because they are so in our faces, and they are demanding that as a matter of law and public policy, and their violent threats, we have to embrace and bow down to their mental illness, they are denying themselves a more human response than they would normally get for their mental illness. And I no longer feel compassion. I feel anger. I'm angry at being forced into a delusional corner and seeing my society destroyed by people who ought to be marginal men and women who are more to be pitied than censured. That's my take. To the extent that they feel more and more hated now, the activists have only themselves to blame. The other topic I wanted to discuss is AI. Kathy Hochul most recently announced no AI data centers are coming to her state. This is almost certainly a Chinese and maybe a Russian op, because China is building AI data centers as fast as it can. AI is the future. AI is the future of national defense. It's the future of industry. It's the future of science. It is a bad master, but a very good servant if you know how to use it. And I wanted to talk about how I use AI in my work all the time. I love it. I use it every single day. I was an early embracer of the internet. I was on the internet in the 90s. I love how the entire world of information was suddenly at my fingertips, but you have to know how to access it. And even with Google, once Google came along and all the other web browsers, you ask a simple question, you get 8,000 answers, and then you have to winnow your way through it and try to find something, and it's very complicated. AI does that. Now, I'm very careful. I ask questions to which I already know the answer, and I just need a consolidation of data. Or if I don't know the answer, I make very sure that the AI response comes with links attached where I can confirm everything for myself. If I were a practicing lawyer, I wouldn't be the one going into court relying on imaginary case law. But the thing about AI is when I ask it a question, it comes back with an answer in 10 seconds for something that used to take me an hour or two to research. If you are, as I am, writing 2, 3, 4, sometimes 5 essays a day, and you happen to know that you absolutely saw such and such an issue discussed maybe 15 years ago, I can now go to AI and say, about 15 years ago, I'm not sure, I saw an article about X, Y, or Z, and AI will find it for me. Also, AI will correct my memory when I'm wrong and confirm that correction by taking me to original source material. I am a much better writer because AI has taken the grunt work out of my research. It's still all there in my brain. I use AI to help me proofread. I do it a lot with submissions. We are the only conservative site that relies primarily on submissions from third parties. Some of them are wonderful writers. Many of them are wonderful thinkers, but the writing can be a little bit shaky, and I tend to be somewhat pedantic about grammar. My father was an English teacher. What I've learned to do is I'll hand the essay over to AI in my first thing, and I'll say, please review this essay for typos and grammatical errors and add Oxford commas. And AI does it 30 seconds, saves me 30 minutes. When you've got a stack of editing on your desk, that's an unbelievable time saver. Once it's in my word processor, I use Grammarly, which is a more refined grammar checker. I don't have to accept its recommendations, but it helps me catch typos. It's a dedicated app, but it is still a form of AI. Again, saves me incredible time and means that you get a more polished product, whether from me or the writers I edit. With my own writing, I use Grammarly to catch, because it's already on my screen, I use Grammarly to catch my typos and other errors. But as I said, I use AI to refine and speed up my research. It's an incredible time saving for me. I was working 70 hours a week. I'm probably working 60 hours a week now because of AI. That's unbelievable. I mean, wow. And it's probably this way in many things. So yes, some people's jobs will be gone. And that is a tragedy of new technologies. It was a tragedy of cars coming along. It was a tragedy of computers coming along. It's a tragedy of all sorts of things as the world shifts and economic dynamics change. But for most of us, what AI does is it removes a lot of the grunt work. It makes life easier. Oh, the other thing I use is I make images. Some people don't like these AI images. I love them because I have no copyright problems with them. Since we don't have a budget to get an account with Getty or AP, we have for years gone scrounging for images, and we've sometimes gotten burned. When we make AI images, no burn. Saves us money, saves us time, lets us relax. So anyway, I think AI is wonderful. And I also, when it comes to my America's national security and America's ability to compete worldwide economically in the space race, everything, the last thing we want is to have Chinese propaganda keep us from building the technology we need so that China or Russia or other rogue nations can take the lead on something that is a genie that is out of the bottle and is not going back. It's fine to make the AI data centers helps pay for the extra water and load they're putting on the energy infrastructure. But for us to go the Hochul route and the other leftist route and the fringe right and horseshoe right route by denying ourselves AI is national suicide. So it's a great thing at the micro level for me. It's a great thing at the macro level for the U.S. It's a bad master and a good servant, so we have to deal with it, but not deny ourselves it. And on that cheerful note, because I always like to end on a cheerful note, thank you so much for listening to me today. I always appreciate it.